On the coldest night of winter, when the wind came off the hills like a blade, Dr. Elias Nasser returned to the abandoned archive beneath the old city museum. He was a historian by trade, thin and careful, more comfortable with dust than with people. His goal was simple: to catalog a box of uncategorized reels and notebooks found behind a collapsed wall. The archive smelled of mildew, hot metal, and old paper. A single bulb swung overhead, throwing a sickly amber light across shelves warped by damp. In the far corner stood the machine that made the basement famous among the museum staff. A black, late 1970s tape recorder with a cracked silver face and no manufacturer's mark. It had never been logged into any inventory, yet the box beside it held tapes labeled in different hands, all with the same date written in red ink, 12th October 1983. Elias inserted the first tape. At first there was only static, then a woman's voice, breathless and low, speaking Arabic through what sounded like a storm. She described a village that no longer appeared on modern maps, a place of olive trees, stone houses, and a spring that ran black at midnight. She spoke of an old saying his grandmother had once murmured to him when he was a child. "If the ground remembers your footsteps, do not return after dark." He listened to the second tape, then the third. Each recording was stranger than the last. Testimonies from farmers, a school teacher, a border guard. All of them described the same thing: a pale figure moving between the hills after sunset, carrying a lamp that gave no light. Not a ghost, exactly, and not a person. Something older, something that listened through walls. Elias smiled despite himself. Folklore, he thought. War fear. Local superstition preserved on obsolete equipment. Then the recorder clicked on by itself. The tape inside was blank when he had checked it moments earlier. Now a new voice emerged, and the blood in his hands turned to ice. "Dr. Elias Nasser," it said, as clearly as if someone stood beside him. He jerked back from the table. The bulb overhead dimmed, brightened, dimmed again. On the playback reel, the tape moved without being touched. The voice continued. It knew the name of his dead mother, the street where he had grown up, the scar on his wrist from a childhood fall. Then it spoke of the box the museum had hidden for decades, records from a government survey team that had vanished in the north, near the ruined village. The team had not discovered a haunting. They had discovered a machine buried beneath the spring, an instrument of unknown origin, half radio and half coffin, that did not transmit voices but trapped them. Elias listened in horror as the voice described what the machine had done to the village. It had repeated conversations. It had preserved fear. It had kept the last moments of the missing in a loop so complete that their grief had become a location, a place one could enter if one knew the frequency. The voice on the tape whispered, "You came here because you heard your own name in the static, didn't you?" He froze. Hours ago, alone in his apartment, he had indeed heard it. A faint crackle from the radio while no station was tuned in, and beneath it, unmistakably, his mother calling him from the dead. The basement door slammed shut. Elias ran to it, but the handle was already cold and stiff, as if sealed by decades. Behind him, tape hiss filled the room like a hissing crowd. One by one, the reels began to spin. The air smelled suddenly of wet earth and spring water. Then he heard footsteps, not on the stairs, not outside, inside the walls. A lamp's glow passed behind the shelves, pale and steady, though no bulb had been lit there. Elias turned, and in the reflection of the recorder's silver face, he saw a figure standing directly at his shoulder. A man in the clothes of another century, his face blurred as if taped over too many times. The figure raised one transparent hand and pointed to the recorder. On the counter, a fresh label slid from the machine slot. Black letters formed slowly, as though printed by an invisible tongue. Side A. Elias Nasser. Testimony 1. The recorder clicked, and with a child's voice, just beginning to remember the shape of fear, Elias started to speak into the dark.